All right, as Nigeria commemorates this year's May Day celebration, organized labor is using this opportunity to demand better welfare and, of course, remuneration for Nigerian workers.
Yes, indeed. And organized labor is also proposing a new national minimum wage for workers, which it has pegged at 66,500 naira per month. Labor believes the proposed figure will help reduce the suffering of workers in the country, saying the current economic realities in the country require more than the 56,000 naira it started pushing for in 2016.
May Day is not the day you sit down, your oppressors will come and tell you that maybe they will pay minimum wage next year. Because this year's budget, nobody captured the payment of new minimum wage. That's true. And they will keep you busy negotiating new minimum wage. And they will be promising. The director of budget said they had no provision for it in the budget. So why are Nigerian workers being deceived if there is no provision in the budget? Rather, the L5 committee is telling you that even the 18,000 you have should be cut.
Hardly some of the governors that have minimum wage to pay at a rate of 18,000 naira. Some are owing 6 months, some are even owing up to 1 year or more than that. So it's a very big slap on us. So we believe now that we are now agitating for an increase, then what's going to be the fate of the workers? Which means some will only agree with us in principle, they may not even willing to pay.
We have looked at the government on ground and we discovered that all expectations, all hope on the government is not yet, that the workers has on the government is not being achieved.
And joining us in the studio is Head Media Bureau of Nigeria Intervention Movement, Debo Adeniyi. Good morning to you and thank you for joining us. Happy May Day.
Good morning.
And also from Abuja, our studio there is the Vice President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Amaechi Azuguni. Good morning to you, Amaechi.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Yes, comrade. All right, first off, happy May Day celebration. What do Nigerian workers have to look forward to, as they commemorate today?
I think first I say happy Workers' Day to Nigerian workers and the world. Most especially Nigeria Labour Congress at 40, because we are still celebrating the anniversary. But above all, I think Workers' Day is actually a day to remark the activities Labour itself is known for. The theme for this year, Labour Day, is the role of Labour movement in the national development. And we look at dare to struggle, dare to win. You know, we have no other job than believing that we have to struggle in order that success be achieved. No risk, no success. So I think NSC is actually an institution deliberately put in place in order that the vulnerable workers are protected.
All right, let me stay with you, Amaechi Azuguni, for a second. First off, this 66,500 naira that you're asking for, a lot of people are saying, look, the 18,000 you're getting is not even being paid by the states. Then you asked for 54,000 naira. That has not even been done. Of course, there's a promise from the federal government that in the third quarter of the year, that will be looked into, it will go into effect. And now you're asking for 66,500. How did you come up with that figure?
I think, demand also goes with realities. And you agree with me that the 18,000, you and I know that can't stand the test of time in the economy we operate today. And the 66,500 that has been put forward as labor demand is such reasonable that I don't even see any labor, a worker, spending less than that amount in a month, irrespective of your location in this country. And we're looking at what was the exchange rate as at the time the 18,000 was put in place, and what is the exchange rate of 66,500 today. So you come out with the analysis that we are on point. And looking at what you said earlier about ability to pay, The question is, why are they not paying, those that are not paying? So the question is not about the demand. It's about the failure on the part of government. You know, when governance fail, the people bear the brunt. But we should, as labor, resist responsibility of employers on their own, because they should pay and play their role. Provision of work is by the employer, and the execution of work is by the employee. And I don't see any government, reasonable governor for that matter, saying he's unable to pay 18,000. It's something that calls for investigation, because Nigerians, most of this response from governors should also be a lesson for the electorate now that the election is coming up. But for me, the 66,500 is appropriate, and it's as given.
Okay, we'll get to you in a bit, Comrade Asuguni. Let me come to you now, Debo. Is it Mayday for Nigerian workers, or is the situation of Mayday, Mayday, Mayday? And we know when you utter that as an aviator, is a cry for help, absolutely.
Yes, this Mayday, for example, is another golden opportunity for Nigerian workers to exhibit their grievances and their yearnings to the political class. I would say at this point that there are a whole lot of agitations, there are a whole lot of plight that have been put forward by the Nigerian workers. But unfortunately, government have been able, has really put a deaf ear about these yearnings. If you look at it realistically, in 2011, when the 18,000 minimum wage was put forward, the rate of dollar to naira was 110. Fast forward to 2018, what do we have? The same 18,000 naira and dollar is now 365, over 300% increment. Then if you look at how much was the pump price of PMS in 2011, it was 65 naira. What do we have today? 145 naira. You know that these two factors are cogent and high determinants of costs of living of Nigerian people and workers. And you should know that inflation has increased tremendously. So this type of Mayday that has come is another opportunity for Nigeria. In fact, this may be the last opportunity to create that formidable change. And
that change would be
and it has to be now. Election is around the corner.
So, look, listening to South Africa labor war that's ongoing now, of course, we're going to be discussing that right after this. Some analysts are saying, look, it's time you moved away from demanding a raise in minimum wage. Otherwise, we'll continue to come back to the same point where inflation, the cost of forex and all of that continues to, you know, eat into whatever the minimum wage is, whether it's 66,000 or whatever. That what labor should be calling for is improved infrastructure, for example, working environment and what have you, in a way that it would definitely rub off on the minimum wage eventually.
Yes, everything go pari passu. You know, first thing is there must be holistic plan for development. We've seen in the last 19 years that the government have been working towards bringing development, but we've not seen it. There are growth, but there is no development. That is one. Two, we should know that it is very, very unrealistic to live with the economic realities, with the amount that was stated or that was stipulated or that was agreed upon for over a couple of years now, and the present reality. Well, in line with increment in minimum wage, there will definitely be some level of inflation, and that is why we have, you know, a competent hand in government that, okay, you should be able to put robust policies in place to cushion this effect. Why did Buhari came up with 500 billion to cushion the effect of hardship on, you know, for example, the youth, towards giving them some certain incentives and allowances or I'll call it wages. You know, these are, you know, ways government can look at things holistically. Industrialization, put infrastructures in place, attract foreign investors, and do a lot of things. Governance is not all about, and don't forget that it is not only minimum wage that labor has been clamoring for. Labor has been clamoring for improved welfare condition of Nigerian workers.
All right, Comrade Asuguni, governors, of course, have been saying that they should be given the chance to determine the minimum wage they think they would be able to pay. Don't you think that is more apt to avoid the problem, of course, which some states are facing already, of non-payment of salaries to workers?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Come again.
Okay, some governors generally anyway have been saying that they would love to be given the chance to determine the minimum wage that suits their states instead of being set by the federal government. Did you hear the question?
Yes, if I take it from what I got from you, the governors that are actually saying they want to determine salary by themselves, you already see the posture that these are anti-democratic governors, because we're talking about a unified salary. It goes beyond 66,500. We're talking about parity of pay. We're talking about equal work for equal pay. It's of the law. ILO convention has been domesticated in Nigeria. And I want to talk about national minimum wage. Nigeria is a signatory to it. It's a wage that no employer within the same nation should pay less. And therefore, when you allow state to determine salary, we're going to have a gallop salary system in the country, which eventually will create more crisis. And it must generate poor production. So for us, national minimum wage is sacrosanct, and all we should do is to put our hands on decks to ensure that a reasonable minimum wage is set for Nigerian workers. It's even a shame that today we're talking about moving from 18. I don't think any good Nigerian or a governor should be proud of 18,000 naira and then talking about to determine how to pay from a state level. National minimum wage is what is operational everywhere, and we must encourage it.
But don't you think a democratized minimum wage, still staying with you, Comrade Amechi, a democratized minimum wage will actually engender competition among the states? I mean, if Lagos State, for example, pays 150,000 naira, the tendency is the person who lives in Kano or Ogun State, Osun State would want to work in Lagos and give their best to Lagos State. And, you know, the same could apply for any part of the country that pays well and pays better. Don't you think that might bring about some level of progress? Comrade Amechi? Okay, let me direct that question then to Debo right here in the studio, since Comrade Amechi did not hear my question. So to the question of democratizing, for want of a better word, of a minimum wage, where different states decide what the minimum wage should be, depending on their earnings, their IGR and all of that, for example. Don't you think it will encourage states to be more competitive and workers will tend to drift towards states that pay better?
Well, I think it should be left the way it is at the exclusive list from the national, because that is the template everywhere in the world. And you can't do that in Nigeria. Why is that? A lot of governors, you know, they will victimize some of these workers. They use this as an instrument, political instrument.
But they are victimizing workers already,
Look at what is happening in Kaduna. Even the governor is even looking at reducing it rather than increasing it. So it doesn't make any sense. Well, first and foremost, I think what the governors should do is to look inward. There's no state in Nigeria that cannot pay the minimum. If Togo will be paying $105, which is above our own minimum wage of $50, if Congo can pay $110, if South Africa can pay $206, And even Benin Republic, are you aware Benin Republic is paying $1,200 on a monthly basis?
Yeah, and South Africa is fighting against the 20 rand per hour minimum wage that government is recommending. Let me, get back to Amechi in Abuja there. My question earlier is, concerning the minimum wage and the issue of states paying different levels of minimum wage. Don't you think you, for example, as a Nigerian, any state that pays better, you would tend to go there?
It goes beyond movement of workers in search of better salary within the same country. We are talking about system. System operates irrespective of your state. And when we talk about wage, workers that work in Anambra State in a ministry that does the same job in Castina are seen under the law to be doing the same job. And under compensation response, they should earn similar salary. And when state people start to move from one state to another in chase of higher salary, it certainly will affect efficiency, because employment are not just given because you are in search of job. It's about availability. So what we try to determine is to get the salary fees to also control influx of what you just referred to. Don't forget, when people begin to move from one state to another in search of work because of higher salary in the state, it does not promote the economy of the country.
But comrade,
because we need a minimum to set a standard for Nigeria.
Okay, comrade, but you know that most of these states are not even industrialized, and many of them barely generate revenue internally.
That's to that extent, we should be talking about the poor performance of state. It is different from their refusal to implement a reasonable salary for the state workers. Most of these states are afraid, and the only way to keep their state busy is to actually hide on this social argument and then put as if there is argument in waiting before certain things can be implemented. States are not doing what they ought to do, and up till now they are not still fixing Nigeria for tomorrow. Without infrastructure, a developing economy has no hope. Nigeria is a developing country, and if we don't put certain things in place, a worker that pays NEPA bill for himself, you operate your own electricity by voluntary purchase of your generator. Some of the people now in their street, they construct their road. People, as I speak to you, nobody goes to public hospital anymore. They go to private hospital because they need attention. So in this country, the basic need that ordinarily should come from the government is absent. And then these people need a salary that can take care of their health, take care of their children's education. Those are supposed to be free provision from government. Unfortunately, a country that has lost focus will continue to complain from one step to the other. We have a lot of people that know a lot in this country, but we have very few that are willing to do it. And it's a factor. Beyond wage, what will be the future of this country? You and I, we are workers. Who is not even a worker in the governance of this country? We are all workers. Protection of workers similarly means that the economy is safe. But the same way the attitude and approach they apply in all of these things tells you and I that we truly need a change. Yes, we truly need a change. And then let's bring it back to the studio with Debo here. How much change really will 66,500 make to the Nigerian worker if you have inflation, the issue of forex and what have you that we already pointed out? If approved. If approved, if approved, without getting the fundamentals right. What are the guarantees that 66,000 really would be that living wage which OBJ actually talked about?
Yes, part of the negotiation is systemic change too, to put robust policies and principles and what have you together towards ensuring that the dividend of democracy is being actually delivered. Don't forget, let's look at the sustainability of the minimum wage.
Yes.
When you increase the wage of an average Nigerian worker, don't forget that productivity will improve drastically. And when productivity improves, what happens? It will improve, it will increase profitability.
Inflation could increase.
Hold on. When profitability has come to play, then there will be affordability.
Yeah.
The economy will have positive impact and positive effect. Everybody smiles to the bank.
Because of
inflation?
purchasing power.
The purchasing power
Yeah.
is robust. Even the companies can operate independently without necessarily relying on maybe loan or whatever.
But there are fears being expressed in countries like South Africa, for example, that if we insist on a higher minimum wage, more companies may just employ fewer workers and even use technology as an alternative to replace, manpower and all of that, which would lead to unemployment. And then we're back to square one.
Because many of their workers there are minors anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, in the Nigerian context, if it has been practiced in other parts of the world, or especially African countries, and it is working, I still think vividly that it will work in Nigeria. Don't forget that we have a lot of resources. Nigeria generates a lot of revenue. The population is there, and the industrial revolution is ongoing. Definitely, companies will cope. All you need to do is to be innovative about it, is to put strategies in place to cushion this effect. It's not compulsory.
Is
to have
industrial revolution
areas of
let me come back
workers.
here. Yeah, earlier I just mentioned inflation, and that's just the rule. When there is too much money chasing fewer products, the prices of such products tend to go higher, and it could give rise to inflation in the process.
Right
and that
now,
is what some economists have been saying, that it might not even be the way to go, that just increasing money, because they would want to spend money, and when there's liquid cash, which of course.
Right now, don't we have inflation in the country?
So it could increase, that's what we're saying.
Inflation rose to 18%. What should follow suit? The cost of living became very high. What should follow suit? You need to raise certain level, certain things at a certain level to be at par with the other, or with the others, rather. So, in terms of inflation, it will definitely happen, but for a very short period of time. Afterwards, and the government has a lot of roles to play in this, to ensure that artificial scarcity or this artificial pricing policies and all that, of even the market effect, the forces of demand and supply is being cushioned. Government has to look at serious regulatory framework to cushion that effect. And when that is on ground, it's not enough argument to say minimum wage should not be increased. Look at states, for example. All the states that they are talking about, the states have that capacity. All they need to do is to be financially prudent.
I doubt if our point really is that minimum wage should not be increased. But
just look at the issues.
Is Labour looking seriously at the other side,
course,
and the consequences of higher minimum wage? Let's take it to Comrade Amechi in Abuja studio there. Of course, he's in a better position to even give us a clearer understanding of this 66,500 minimum wage. Would it be, in your estimation, the living wage that the Nigerian worker needs?
But before you comment, Comrade, let's quickly thank Debo Adeniyi, of course, the head Media Nigeria Intervention Movement, for your analysis at this time. Thank you very much, and happy May Day celebration.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
All right, over to you, Comrade. You can answer the question.
If you heard my question, Comrade,
Yes, I think we are talking about 66,500 being a living wage for Nigeria workers. And I say, in order to be reasonable in our approach, we consider it to truly be a living wage. Because don't forget, on the day of inauguration of this committee, the Tripartite Committee for Minimum Wage, Mr. President did say that this committee are put in place to actually establish a decent living wage for Nigerian workers. So as a committee, we don't also want to disappoint Mr. President, because we want to believe that he actually had a vision with that statement. So for me, driving together with the committee, arriving at a reasonable point, will put a smile on Nigerian workers. And we should also see Nigerian labor movement and labor system entirely. It's not centered on wage alone. As far as I'm concerned, protection of a worker is even more needed. The objective of trade union is to defend the right and welfare of a worker in the workplace. And therefore, those ingredients are the better basis for trade union. I agree that from time to time, wages need to be reviewed. But above review, protection, dignity of labor, decency, and having an atmosphere that will not induce negatively on a worker. Those are the things we look at. We look at female, we look at gender-based violation, we look at other factors where people are not discriminated for reasons that they have no control of. And I think for the essence of wage, we have to change Nigerian wage now. No better time, but now. Otherwise, it will affect our production. All the vision, the program, any political party we aspire can only be achieved by the workers. You can't do it. Statement does not change a nation. Without work, no result. And you need these workers to put in their best. All directors, people are complaining. They are not compensated. Without motivation, excellence is far. And I think government should see it at this end.
All right, that's a good place
to even award this salary, even before now. We needed bonuses for workers to actually know that they are appreciated even in their contributions.
All right, thank you very much. Comrade Amechi Asoguni, Vice President, Nigeria Labour Congress, speaking to us from Abuja studio. Happy May Day again. Yeah. All right, we've been joined by National President, Nigeria Union of Teachers, Michael Alugba. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And happy May Day.
Thank you, thank you.
And like we asked earlier, should it be May Day, May Day, May Day, or...
Well, you see,
I mean, the Nigerian worker truly has come a long way, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Thank you very much. You see, first and foremost, I think we have to thank God from the spiritual realm. The fact that one is alive, one is still on this side of the world, we have to thank God. So that is why, well, for workers to conglomerate, come together today, to celebrate themselves, to agitate, to talk to the government on the matter that affect us sincerely, it is worth it. Though people might begin to say that every year, rhetoric here and there and whatever. Well, we're on our way to freedom. We shall surely get there.
Well, yeah, I was about to say that every year is still the same old story.
Yeah.
The call for increment in minimum wage.
Yeah.
And then, of course, now it seems that there seems to be light at the end of the tunnel pretty much soon. But what is the assurance kind of them next year? Nigerian workers will be singing another song.
You see, I mean, she spoke before now. He's a good friend and has spoken very brilliantly to project the image of labor. My own candid advice, because it's to this government, they should not toy on the gentility of labor. In the past, it used to bank table, bank this, bank that. It used to result in, lockout, strikes, and what have you. But these days, the labor leadership are trying to be scientific, to be matured. But I will appeal to the government of this country, all the tiers, be it federal government, state government, whatever, not to mistaking the gentility of labor for otherwise.
All right, let's come to the plight of the Nigerian teacher. Is his reward still in heaven, or is it here on earth?
I like that. I like that. I like that. Leave heaven to those that are there. Let the reward of teachers start from here. You see, I know you intentionally threw this question at me. I've always, at every forum, corrected that why, of all professions in the world, even the people that work in the vineyard of God, the pastors, the whatever, we have a lot of them. Those that ride jet, They are the ones that are supposed to prepare the heaven for you and I.
But
you are
teaching
leaving
is
this
seen
for
as
teachers.
a noble profession because regardless of whatever
Pastors, are they not
profession
noble?
anybody
Product of a
practices, is the
teacher.
product of a teacher from
Pastors, are they not
primary level.
noble? Those are the people that are doing the work of God. They are the ones that I'm expecting you people that at least the other side take care of them. So the reward of teacher, my sister, Joe's apart, should start from here.
So
Should start from here, 27.5, extend the tenure of teachers. We have always agitated this. Let them now retire at 70 and what have you, because we are not having the best of hand in our classrooms.
but how can they be still teaching at the age of 70?
Sorry?
How can teachers
Professors, polytechnic teachers, college of education teachers retired at that age. And we know what you are doing. You see, the work you do on a daily basis becomes an experience. Experience is not readily available in the supermarket. So enough of, teach for, it's an agitation, it's an expectation. It's our quality contribution towards developing education here.
But how does that affect?
I am a board member of Education International with headquarters in Brussels, in Belgium. And I know what obtains there. In all other climes, I'm a member, an executive board member of body of teachers all over the world. I know what happens in Australia, in US.
So apart from minimum wage increment and then what you just said about extending the age, teaching age of teachers, what other demands would you say?
They are multifarious. I don't want to bother you with let there be dignity. You see, again, candidly, I want to advise our government to stop politicizing education. Okay? Let all hands be on deck to revamp education. Cast your mind to our schools these days.
Public education.
What is happening there?
Okay. Michael Alugba, because of time, our director says we just have to end it here because of time. Michael Alugba, National President, Nigeria Union of Teachers. Thank you very much for coming onto the show. And happy May Day celebration.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Yes, we'll go on a short break now. And when we return, we'll be looking at the other side. What South Africans are demanding from the government as per minimum wage as well. Stay with us.